New police documents say the mother of his 2 children was found dead in a smoky trailer with burns and a stab wound in her neck. Police were able to track down Ricardo Trujillo and his 2 children. He was arrested and taken to the Weber County Jail. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Russia and Ukraine have reached a limited agreement brokered by the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. It falls far short of a full ceasefire, though. ABC's Patrick Reevell has details.
The Kremlin and Ukraine's President Zelensky say they have agreed to halt strikes on ships in the Black Sea. In exchange, the U.S. has agreed to ease sanctions on some Russian banks involved in food and fertilizer exports. Russia says it will only start implementing the deal once that happens. This basically resurrects a deal brokered by the UN back in 2022, but that Russia later withdrew from. Ukraine and Russia also agreed to work on measures to end strikes on energy infrastructure. Patrick Reevell, ABC News, at the Foreign Desk.
BYU's men's basketball team is on the way to New Jersey to play in the Sweet 16. About 200 fans cheered them on as they took off at the Provo Airport this morning. They'll play Alabama on Thursday. Tip-off at 5:09 with extended pregame coverage starting at 3 right here on KSL News Radio. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 107 points. The S&P 500 is down 5, and the NASDAQ is up 35 points. Coming up, you'll likely be ditching your jacket for the next couple days. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time 101.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
You know how they always used to ask you in grade school, what do you want to be when you grow up? I bet I'm the only kid who ever stood proud and said, I want to be a rain gutter or siding installer. Jim Jr. here with RGS Exteriors, and man, I can still remember all those wannabe astronauts and quarterbacks looking at me like I was an idiot. Who would want to install rain gutters or siding? Somebody who is a 4th generation in business. That's who. My great-grandfather, T.R. Brown, started the company in the 50s. Then my grandfather took over from him, then my dad, Tim Sr., and now I've been at the helm since 2005. Every day I wake up and think, man, I'm living the dream. And now my own kids are starting to work in the business too. 5 generations. If you want gutters, siding, windows, or any exteriors on your home, and a company that really cares deep down to our souls, give RGS a call. 801-280-3110 or find us online, rgsutah.com. That's rgsutah.com. 801-280-3110, rgsutah.com.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other, so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
My name is Mac Davis, and I have been on the SOTA weight loss program for 14 weeks now. I have dropped 38 pounds.
Wow. That's amazing.
It's been remarkably easy to follow the program. It's been amazing.
SOTA weight loss works.
Who would have thought that I would be able to lose over 100 pounds? I thought that there was no way that I could do that without having some kind of invasive surgery or diet pill or some other means.
Let SOTA Weight Loss teach you the healthy, natural way to let go of the weight for good.
The best decision I've made in a long time was just to call SOTA Weight Loss.
Join SOTA Weight Loss with your partner and only pay for one person. Lose weight together.
Double the motivation, double the results, half the cost. Take advantage of SOTA Weight Loss 2-for-1 partner program. Visit SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. SOTA is, say it with me, state of the art.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
Emergency crews are working a crash with possible injuries southbound Bangerter Highway. This is near California Avenue, and we do have right lanes blocked to traffic. And for those in Weber County, an accident at Riverdale Road going westbound at 7th West. Right lanes are affected there, but traffic able to get by on the left. Advanced Window Products offers Graber window coverings, high-end quality with the best warranty. Save 30% off when you mention KSL. AdvancedWindows.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, we're expecting a high of 72 degrees, and it's just going to get hotter from there. 79 degrees in the forecast tomorrow and 80 on Thursday. Then we'll dip down to 59 on Friday with a chance of showers. Right now, it's sunny at 63 degrees. I'm Heather Peterson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
It's now being called Signalgate. Messages about military plans being inadvertently shared with the journalists through an app called Signal. The story broke yesterday from the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg, and it's been the biggest political story of the last 24 hours for sure. Many in the national security sector say this is a huge breach. The White House says it's not as big of a deal as people are making it out to be. We'll talk about that next. Welcome to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here again with Leah Murray. Always a treat to be with you, Leah. We're getting the day started with more to talk about in D.C. So Taylor and Adam spoke about this whole deal yesterday on the show, but we're going to go to it a bit more today, a few more hours for everybody to chew on this, and we're going to go a little bit more in-depth on it from a legal perspective, a security perspective, and also political implications. This morning, they had a previously scheduled hearing on national security that obviously was overshadowed by the event. Leah, I'm sure we can't fault members of Congress of saying, wait a minute, I have a chance to get on TV saying something that'll get everybody fired up and it'll make the news, and they took that opportunity.
Yeah, but before you go there, Rusty, I just want to push a little bit, and I'm actually happy to be with me this afternoon. Rusty Cannon.
Yes.
When it was the case that Hillary Clinton used a private server to send emails while she was Secretary of State, did you have feelings about that?
I had feelings about that.
And what were your
feelings? And it is not fair for you to call out my hypocrisy all this quickly in the show, Leah. Come on.
No, you're not being a hypocrite.
Okay.
I guess what I want to say is this. In 2016, a little bit, I thought, I'm going to tell you what, I would never have used a BlackBerry, and it was a BlackBerry at the corner.
Oh, I totally forgot about those
BlackBerries. It was a BlackBerry.
Yeah.
But she was like, I had a BlackBerry. I knew how to use it.
Yeah.
She's like, I didn't want to learn a different device.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my dad at the time, what is the big deal? I get this completely. This is a device you know is secure. It's a device you know how to use. You checked in with some other people, and they all seem like they're using their BlackBerries. What is the problem?
Yeah.
And my dad was like, she's a public servant, and there are rules about information.
Yeah.
And you cannot be just playing fast and loose with those rules if you're a public servant.
Correct.
So I was persuaded that maybe she was wrong, and that actually was a big deal. So I'm not calling you on hypocrisy, Rusty.
Sure.
What I'm saying is, didn't we all learn this 8 years ago? So a little bit, it's like, man, of all the things to get caught out doing when we had a national conversation about whether this is appropriate in the 2016 campaign, which included the boss of all these men 8-9 years ago.
Correct. It brings back a phrase I remember learning in 8th grade. I think it was in history class. Those who do not study history are condemned to repeat it. Like maybe they should have.
Those who are not paying attention.
Yeah, exactly, not paying attention.
Right.
So now, in a committee, there's what's called a ranking member, meaning you're in the minority. In this case, that's Democrats on a committee. We're going to listen to the first soundbite. This is Senator Mark Warner. He's the ranking member on Senate Intelligence in the hearing today, grilling members speaking to the committee. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Putting aside for a moment that classified information should never be discussed over an unclassified system. It's also just mind-boggling to me that all these senior folks were on this line and nobody bothered to even check. Security Hygiene 101. Who are all the names? Who are they?
And he had some great points there. And then he dug in further when questioning Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. Let's hear that.
Did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not. Are you denying Matt, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat?
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you
of
refuse
the
to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat?
Senator, I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security
Because
Council.
it's all classified? If it's not classified, share the text now.
So a lot of discussion going back and forth on Capitol Hill about this. Leah, your reaction to all this?
Right. So what's been interesting is over the last hour, day that this has happened, President Trump in the beginning wasn't really talking about it. Right. So people are kind of watching to see, who's in trouble? How's the president going to respond? We are looking up at a conversation right now with President Trump, like on the screens in our studio, and I read him saying, Trump says nothing was classified. So a little bit, I think, right there, that push from Warner to Gabbard was there classified information? Gabbard is unwilling to say it. So Warner is saying, well, then it must be classified. If it was unclassified, couldn't you just send me a screenshot of this text? Yeah. So a little bit, I think, what the answer is there, how do I say, might predict how much drama unfolds. But I think everyone is saying, no, this is a huge mistake, right? Like, this should never have happened.
Yeah, I think that would be a universal I think everyone would have that thought universally. This is a colossal mistake, and I think over time we'll see how it happened and all. So the reaction from the White House, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt put a post on X where she laid out 3 bullet points, which obviously as we're watching this unfold here at the White House, literally as we're recording this or streaming this, is they're saying, number 1, no war plans were discussed. We can talk about those specifics. Number 2, no classified material was sent to the thread. And number 3, White House counsel's office has provided guidance on a number of different platforms for President Trump's top officials to communicate as safely and efficiently as possible. So those are 3 points, and it looks like the president is reiterating those points as far as we can tell. So that's the story they're looking to.
Yeah, so right there, it's like they are deciding whether we're allowed to use Signal or not, right? That's what I hear in that. Like, so this conversation about whether this is a platform that is okay, but guess what? It's not yet, because they haven't decided that it's okay. So right now it's not okay. And in this group chat was Vice President J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, the Director of National Intelligence, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. None of these people thought to themselves, who's this other number? Yeah. Because I don't know, Rusty, I'm in Signal chat. So I want to be clear, I am in some of those.
I'm now getting really old. I've never used Signal.
Okay, yeah, Signal is like super secure. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I know
really
about
secure.
it. I just admit, just like TikTok, it's not on my phone.
Right, so Signal is something I have used. And a little bit for me with some of my friends, it's like the, Harriet the Spy. It's the notebook I never want getting out.
Okay,
Signal deletes every message. Like, I can set it up to go just delete these messages within like 8 hours. I'm just revealing some, if I want to complain about people, I go to Signal. Yeah. So they'll never know I'm complaining about them.
If you want to vent about Rusty, do it on Signal.
That's right. I'm going to go to Signal. But the answer is, when I'm in that group, I would know who's not known. Yeah. Meaning, if I were on a list right in the Signal chat, I would know that there's a number there I don't know. The fact that none of these unbelievably qualified, totally brilliant people who are the secretaries at the highest levels of government making decisions about our military, none of them paused to say, now, whose number is this?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. It's an Atlantic editor who should never be in this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what, Rusty, somebody should have caught this. It is everybody's fault. So I feel like they're going to come down right on Waltz. Like, he's going to be the guy, Mike Waltz. It's probably going to be the fall guy if they decide to go that route. But all of those people were on that thread. All of them should have been smart enough to say, who is this number we don't recognize?
Yeah, I agree. Now, Speaker Mike Johnson was asked about that line of thinking. Let's hear what he had to say.
I don't think anyone should have lost their job over that, because an errant number, found its way onto a dialogue between leaders. It's a mistake, but we got to correct it going forward, and they will.
So that's going to be the conversation that I think comes next, and I know we have to wrap up this segment, but it's going to be interesting how this plays out if the White House digs in and hopes this story goes away. But you got to wonder if somebody's feet are going to be held to the fire, because this was a colossal mistake.
Absolutely.
No way to get around it. All right, we're next on Inside Sources. Plenty more to talk about with Signalgate, including a look at the security and legal angles of it. More after the break.
Rebates and tax incentives sound great, but they can be a little bit of a headache when it comes time to claim them. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and we try and make it as easy as possible for you to claim those rebates. We even have a rebate support specialist on our team to answer your questions and help you get every dollar your new furnace and air conditioner qualify for. You might not realize it, but right now, local utilities are offering over $2,400 in rebates, and there's another $3,200 available in federal tax incentives. That's over $5,600 in additional savings for qualifying heating and cooling upgrades. When you couple those rebates and incentives with Any Hour Services free furnace sale that's going on right now, I mean, even if you've just been thinking about replacing your old furnace and air conditioner, it makes a lot of sense to schedule a free estimate and learn more. One of our HVAC supervisors can come to your home and explain everything. Call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7400. Google Any Hour Services or schedule a free estimate online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Are you in search of a fulfilling career where you can work on a team that provides you room to grow, learn, and thrive every day? Focus Engineering and Surveying is looking for individuals to join their team who take pride in the customer service they provide and have a passion for their clients to be successful. No experience in engineering, CAD design, or surveying? No problem. Focus will train those who fit their team culture for rewarding careers in surveying and CAD design. If you can align with the core ideology and the Focus team culture, if you're internally driven, team-oriented, client-focused, and love personal development and growth, Focus Engineering and Surveying is the place for you. Enjoy a positive work environment and paid internship opportunities, plus fantastic benefits like great health care with 80% employer-paid premium and HSA matched up to $200 per month, 401k, vacation, even annual performance bonuses. Start your journey towards your new and fulfilling career. Apply now at FocusUtah.com. That's FocusUtah.com.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-961-5544. 800-961-5544.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Troy, I think it's high time we pull the plug on winter and start this spring camping season off with a bang.
Couldn't agree more. And the best way to get a jump start on spring is in an RV.
Precisely. Now, if only there was a way to extend show deals on said RVs so people could really take advantage. Do you know of anyone who could possibly, hypothetically, do such a thing?
I know a guy.
I thought you might.
Get into Bish's RV to get last chance show pricing on all RVs.
We're talking travel trailers starting under $129 per month on approved credit.
Clearance pricing on all remaining new in stock 2024s.
No payments until June OAC.
And a free 1-year RV Fix membership with every RV purchase. Your fast track to RV service repairs.
And at Bish's, you'll always skip all the hidden freight and prep fees you get with other dealers.
It's your last chance to start camping season early with the best show pricing deals around. Only at Bish's RV of Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin.
Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 89911-81734. Subject to prior sale. See dealer for details.
Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with human kindness is here. Hello, human kindness.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
We are continuing our deep dive into the recent security breach involving national security leaders, a journalist, and military plans for an attack on Yemen. This could be like a Hollywood movie, Rusty Cannon.
I think someday it will be.
It will be.
Yep.
In remarks just a few minutes ago, President Trump said, equipment and technology isn't perfect, and this is a paraphrase, and they may be forced to use Signal again. He said, sometimes speed is more important than security. So in this segment, Rusty, just go with me. I promise not to refer to you as a hypocrite again, but I might look at you with a little side eye. We want to look more into the actual security aspects. Like, what kind of breach is this? Is this Signal app secure? And joining us for that perspective is Brandon Amaker, who is directing the Emerging Tech Policy Lab and an instructor at the UVU Center for National Security Studies. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So real quick, can you answer that question right out of the gate? Brandon, is speed more important than security?
Oh, man. Talk about a loaded question.
Sorry.
Yeah, you loaded
Welcome
that one
to
up
the
quickly.
show.
Yeah, she's on a tear today. Just be careful, Brandon.
It's okay. Just don't ask me to solve world hunger next. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the context and the exact specifications of the situation. The sentiment of speed being more important than security has kind of been a growing thought in the national security space with regards to a few issues in terms of technological development and kind of being first to act on information. However, I do think you have to strike a very careful balance in that we are in an information landscape where complete security, like having everything 100% locked down, is increasingly more difficult to obtain. So speed is more important, but I also don't think it's necessarily appropriate to minimize the necessity to keep things confidential to ensure the maximum amount of security possible, if that makes sense.
So, Brandon, this seems to break down into two issues in my mind. First issue, and we can talk about these separately. First issue is the platform, meaning why was Signal being used? Is it safe? Is it not? Is there an alternative that they should have been using that would have been more secure? And then the second question is what was shared, right? And as the White House is saying, okay, listen, this was obviously a big mistake. No war plans were discussed, and I'm not saying I agree with their take on it. That's what they're spinning right now. What do you think on those two different questions? If we tackle that first one, the platform itself, is there an alternative for them to use other than Signal that would have been more secure, and would that have prevented somebody from inadvertently adding a random journalist?
So it's a really good question, and the answer is somewhat complex because when you say more secure, it depends on what you mean. So in terms of messaging apps, Signal is one of the more secure messaging apps out there in terms of, if you intercept messages from it, it's end-to-end encrypted. It's more difficult to decipher them. So that gives it an edge over communications protocols like email or a lot of other popular messaging apps. However, the downfall is exactly what you just said. Unlike email, where it would warn you if somebody was external to your organization or perhaps didn't have the correct domain or credentials, Signal works very much just like a text messaging app where, you could add somebody, take somebody off, and it is just, universal. It doesn't necessarily discriminate based off of who's within your organization.
Pause real quick right there, Brandon. So what I hear you saying is if you were going to use Signal, you have to actually be discerning.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I mean, I'm sure everybody, has had an incident where you accidentally put somebody in the subject line that wasn't supposed to be there, or, you accidentally text somebody who you didn't mean to text. The only thing is with email, sometimes your systems will have something built in that will tell you when somebody is external to your organization, whereas messaging apps like Signal do not. So you probably need to add an extra layer of scrutiny to who's in the chat.
Okay, so based on your expertise in working in national security, is everybody using Signal? Is nobody using Signal? I mean, how big of a revelation is it that Signal was being used?
Not a huge one. It is very, very popular among people who are either high-profile individuals, people who, have extra concern for privacy and security, because, like I said, among messaging apps that kind of replicate text messaging or chat apps, it is one of the more secure, if not the most secure, widely used platform.
Got it. Okay. And so the second question, let's talk about that. as to what was shared? And I guess maybe we're splitting hairs, but what is your opinion on what was actually shared within there?
I mean, in terms of my understanding of the situation, it did seem that the majority of the content was unclassified, and they did refer to, other parallel communications being conducted on classified networks. But I do think just because something maybe isn't explicitly classified does not mean that extra care should not be taken with the transmission of sensitive information.
Yeah, so no, and I think it's interesting. My question is, as an expert in security, is it the case that a public employee, right? So I want to be caught, I'll just say this, Brandon, you work at UVU, I work at Weber State. There are rules about privacy, right? So there are things that we have to abide by.
So you guys are technically state employees.
Correct. We're state employees, and there's FERPA rules when you're talking about student data. So a little bit there are things we are allowed to share. And you know this, there's certain data can only be in a box, right? They cannot be in Google Drive, right? There's just rules about this. Can you talk to us about your initial takeaways? If it is the case that President Trump wants to use security because it is super private, isn't there a process the government would have to approve that as a messaging app, as a viable and authorized, if you will, messaging app before you've got the Vice President, the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, all in a conversation about anything, even if no one else was in there?
I mean, it's a great question. I do not have inside knowledge in terms of the approval process or in whether or not it was officially sanctioned by, whomever it might be. But I mean, it's also a unique case in that they are senior decision makers utilizing it. So, the people who would end up having the final sign off on any type of platform are the ones who are in that chat. I couldn't necessarily speak to whether or not it had gone through an official approval process and it was, an officially sanctioned platform or tool or not, just because I don't have that inside knowledge. But I would imagine that those frameworks do exist.
So, Brandon, I would assume those that work in national security, intelligence, an area that you obviously teach about and study, this would make me nervous. Meaning, how many other people fear making this type of mistake in that industry or in that, I don't want to call it an industry, in that sector? Is this a common mistake that is made? Or how many times is intelligence blown or corrupted with a mistake as bad as this one?
I mean, this is certainly one of the more high-profile incidents that we've seen in recent memory, but in terms of, misuse of communications platforms, mishandling of classified information, it's not necessarily a new trend. I mean, it's a constant battle that, both public sector organizations, private sector organizations battle with. The fact of the matter is that in any security system that you're trying to keep secure, the human aspect is always going to be the most difficult thing to control. Right? Humans make mistakes. We make mistakes in our personal life. We'll send messages, even on a personal basis, to somebody that we didn't mean to. I swear everybody has a story like that. But just when it's in this context, those consequences are much more dire and the stakes are a lot higher. And at the end of the day, security policy is essentially, an active history of things that have gone wrong and how we're going to try to prevent it in the future. So, going forward, I'm sure there's going to be, massive reviews surrounding this case, and there's probably going to be new policies and procedures put into place to avoid something like this that will happen in the future. But that's just kind of the nature of this type of thing, is that sometimes you don't know where the vulnerabilities are until something bad happens.
Brandon Amaker, Director of the Emerging Tech Policy Lab, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me.
I love that. Maybe you don't know where the vulnerabilities are.
Yeah. And how many times have we had texts where it's, you're texting with a group and then what's for dinner? Oh, sorry, wrong group.
No, true. But I am not the Secretary of State.
No, I know. I'm not making.
Or the Secretary of Defense. So a little bit, it's I need these people to be better at their job. Rusty
Cross your T's, dot your I's, and do your homework.
That's right. When Inside Sources returns, let's talk about the legal ramifications of sharing classified material via an unsecured app, and if there could be any legal punishments as a result of this whole thing. Stay with us.
Good afternoon. It's 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story. Utah's Attorney General is in Washington today, where his team is arguing before the U.S. Supreme Court on a case that involves who gets to hear legal challenges to the EPA. In a social media post, Eric Brown says the Clean Air Act is being used to shut down energy production in places like Utah.
This is an issue that matters to the state of Utah.
They are appealing a decision to move cases challenging EPA actions to be heard in Washington instead of by appeals courts closer to home. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. We're hearing more about the moment that gunfire erupted at a park in Las Cruces, New Mexico last Friday night. 3 people were killed, 15 more injured.
This is what it sounded like caught on witness video released by Las Cruces police when multiple people at an unsanctioned car show at a park opened fire. Police Chief Jeremy Story says 2 groups had a conflict and then numerous guns came out.
Some of the intended targets were struck, along with several uninvolved bystanders that had nothing to do with the dispute.
3 teenagers and a 20-year-old have been arrested. 59 shell casings were found. The 3 killed were 19, 18, and 16 years old. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is down by 66 points, sitting at 42,518. S&P down by just a fraction. The NASDAQ is up by 48 points. Get ready for some record warm temperatures. We'll check the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 1:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Do you want to make your house more comfortable, more energy efficient, more valuable? Well, maybe it's time you took a look at your doors and windows. And there's nobody around who does doors and windows better than Peach Doors and Windows.
Improve the functionality of your home with custom replacement windows, entry doors, patio doors. Maybe you have a sunroom or you want a new custom front door and windows to maximize the beauty of your home. Peach offers flexible financing available to fit any budget. They've got expert installation, including fiberglass doors, which are their specialty. And they'll replace your windows with the highest energy efficiency rating.
And customer service is a top priority. It's the reason why they have so many 5-star reviews on Google. You can check it out for yourself. You can also check them out online at peachbuildingproducts.com. You can call for a free in-home estimate, 801-566-1255.
Or see them in person, 2940 South 300 West in Salt Lake City. They're open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. Go check out their beautiful showroom. It's Peach Doors and Windows.
Hey, are you nervous about this stock market volatility and what will happen with tariffs, taxes, and Social Security? You're invited to a free educational event with Jeff Bush. Jeff's been featured in Investment News and CNBC. He's a nonpartisan authority that talks about this is what's going on in Washington right now. Here's how it could impact you. And these are the actionable strategies that could protect and grow your retirement savings. This event is hosted by Boss Retirement Solutions. See Jeff Bush live on Thursday, April 10th at 6:30 p.m. in downtown Salt Lake. Reserve your free ticket now by calling 801-850-6988. That's 801-850-6988. 801-850-6988.
Advisory services offered through Boss Retirement Advisors. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Boss Retirement Solutions and Advisors paid Jeff Bush for his appearance, but he is not affiliated with our firm.
Hi, this is Kathy.
And Jason from Window World.
Jason, other window companies are offering their big specials again. What's our special?
Our special is the same low price every day for every customer all year round.
Wow, Window World is different.
We don't jack up the price to offer a phony discount like other companies.
No pressure, no games. Hey, call Window World 801-281-8111.
Or check windowworldutah.com.
Window World, simply the best for
And as Doug always said,
that's no baloney.
At Trio Senior Living, older adults aren't slowing down. They're just getting started. The Prime Fit Wellness Program expands wellness beyond the gym into every aspect of community life. Whatever your goals, the team at Trio Senior Living has got your back, so you can put your best foot forward. Call 801-475-4004 today to schedule your personal visit.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
It's an easy drive on all the Valley freeways. We're looking good there. We still have the final cleanup of a crash. Southbound Bangerter Highway, California Avenue, about 1300 south. But crews have opened up those right lanes of travel. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Record warm temperatures over the next few days before a cold front moves in on Friday. We're up to 80 degrees for a high on Thursday. Friday, though, 40% chance of showers, the high only 59. 64 degrees, a lot of sunshine in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Maria Shilaos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Leah Murray. Leah, we're wrapping up our deep dive into Signalgate and the potential consequences of this security breach. We're going to finish up with a look at the legal ramifications of all of this. To give us that angle, we're joined by our KSL legal analyst and Inside Sources co-host. I miss him. We need him back here soon. Greg Skordas, welcome to the show, Greg.
Hey, Rusty. How are you?
Good. All right.
Greg, Rusty misses you because he's waiting for you to defend President Trump and all of his intelligence people.
I wanted to ask you a very legalese type of question. I hope I phrase it right.
Sure.
The one thing that seems to be being bandied about now is would something like this be a violation of the Espionage Act? And I know this act was passed in 1917, but as we've learned lately, it doesn't matter how old these laws and rules are. What are your thoughts on the legal aspect of this? Is there much to this?
You know, at first blush, Rusty, I would say no. And I'll tell you why. It's against the law to hack into the government. It's against the law to eavesdrop on the government. It's against the law to make yourself privy to something you're not supposed to be privy to. But it's not against the law for some agent of the government, as I think what probably happened here, to accidentally give information out, to make it available in a way that was never supposed to happen. And maybe I'm not articulating it very well, but I think Elizabeth Warren or somebody say this is against the law. It's not against the law. It's certainly not right, and it may put people at risk. But I don't think there's going to be criminal consequences as a result of this. We may enact new legislation to tighten things up, but I don't see this as a criminal violation or a legal violation.
So, Greg, but what you just said there, maybe this is an epic conspiracy theory. So they put this editor from The Atlantic into this Signal chat because what I think you just said, and Rusty got very excited because maybe the reporter is actually in trouble. But I think the fact that he told everyone that he was in a chat he wasn't supposed to be in, right? But maybe make him immune to that.
He waited quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, we all get information. If you email or you're part of an email chain and people hit reply all in ways they shouldn't, and you get, and as a lawyer, we see this all the time. You just delete it. You just don't look at it. But it's not illegal to receive it. It's illegal if you hack in and you get it in a way you were never supposed to. But just being the recipient of something that is you should be isn't illegal in and of itself. I don't know if I'm articulating that very, very well.
No, I get your point. Yeah, I get your point. I mean, that begs the question that is now coming to my mind is, and this is a very interesting ethical or legal question. In this situation with this reporter, is there a point in time where he is mistakenly being put in this position where he is either supposed to or has to speak up without getting in further trouble? Or can he just ride it the whole time as long as they're dumb enough to keep him inside this group?
Yeah, I think the latter, Rusty, as weird as that sounds. I mean, he may have some – of course, he's a reporter, so he has his own set of rules and ethics as it relates to receiving information and the confidentiality of that. But if he's in somebody's group and getting information, bad for them, not necessarily bad for him. And I don't even know that he has a legal obligation to disclose that and to say, hey, you guys, you're not supposed to be sending me this. It's a problem that hopefully we don't see much and maybe won't see again. And somebody's going to get to the bottom of it at some point and find out how this happened in the first place. But to characterize it as illegal, I just have a hard time with.
All right, so talk to us, Greg. In 2016, the FBI investigated Hillary Clinton because she had her emails on a private server. So she had a full-bore, FBI investigation. The director at the time, James Comey, found evidence that she was extremely careless using a private server, but that her actions were not enough to merit an indictment. And then that was a big part of that campaign, right? The emails was a big thing. People talked about it a lot. So a little bit, can you talk to me about, maybe not the legal piece of this, but politically, right? Didn't we already ask and answer this question? So to such an extent that basically whoever started this group thread, which I think is Mike Waltz, really should already know better that this is extremely careless. The FBI has already ruled on this, right? Talk to me about that.
That's actually a great analogy, Leah. That's brilliant because and I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're exactly right. And people were so upset that she'd done something wrong. It was sloppy to do something when it's on your private email. I mean, it's sloppy to share information that ultimately is going to get to the press. And maybe heads can roll in a different way. That is to say, move people out of a position or give them limited access to confidential information if they're going to be so careless with it. It certainly hurt Hillary Clinton in political ways that maybe she deserved looking back, on the way she was so careless with those emails. But I think that we need to learn, we need to understand that when we're dealing with top secret government information, especially when it deals with acts of war, that we need to button things up a lot tighter, and you can bet that they will. You can bet that the government's going to look much more closely on how information is being disseminated within agencies.
Well, always good insight to hear from you, Greg. Thank you for joining us today, KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, on this issue. All right, Leah, I want to ask you political angle. I think you started getting into it here. Your thoughts there. My thoughts are, wouldn't it be nice if an administration was crossing their T's and dotting their I's every day on every single issue, and running just an efficient team that wouldn't do something as dumb as this? How do you think it reflects on leadership of a large organization like this? Meaning the administration, to have something this careless done. Is that a reflection all the way to the top, or you have people that work under you, right? In your position at the university or in any organization, I guess you could use the same analogy. At what point does it become not your fault if you're the leader?
No, so the answer is it's never not your fault if you're the leader. Rusty, come on. We use the word Signalgate, which is a shout. It's an echo back to Watergate.
Yeah.
And the whole thing with Nixon was he didn't break into the Watergate. Some zealot people of his and his staff did. And instead of being like, no, it's on me and they'll be fired, which then he would never have been impeached, right? So the answer is it's your fault. Own it. Make the person who's responsible, heads roll there, and then you tighten up, like Greg said, button everything up a lot more closely. You cannot, put distance between yourself and what's happening inside of your administration.
Yeah, I'm not saying you should. I wasn't trying to defend it. I was curious where if there is a line, is it anywhere? So you're saying it's nowhere. So
how do they say true leaders? The buck stops with them, right?
So if I'm the mayor of a city, and there's a city-owned golf course, and somebody that works in the grounds crew there drives the golf cart off of property and hurts someone, that's the mayor's fault?
Yeah.
You really think so?
Yeah. No, because the answer is it's a public service. It's a public golf course, and the mayor is responsible for all public utilities and public parks and everything in that space. Do I think he caused it? No, but absolutely.
Well, not cause, but where does blame lie? You say it goes all the way to the top.
It goes all the way to the top. They've got to own it, and then they've got to go, this will never happen again. Here's how I make sure it never happens again. This guy is out.
Got it. Well, it's an interesting question. I'm really curious to see how this unfolds. As we saw just a few minutes ago, while the show was taking place, President Trump was asked about this. I think it was at a cabinet meeting or some presser that he had. It didn't seem like he moved as far as not defending Mike Waltz or anybody. He sort of, I guess, dug in and those kinds of things to just defend it and I guess push back and say, let's move on, talk about other things. He still answered the question. But I now looking at that wonder if anybody's head ends up rolling or if this is something that they just move on. We'll just have to wait and see. All right, next on Inside Sources, let's shift gears and talk more about how GOP leaders are working to advance President Trump's agenda. We'll also talk about some recent comments from Utah Senator John Curtis about Social Security. We'll be right back.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Do you need new windows? Look, all glass pretty much looks the same to the naked eye, but if your windows aren't triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane glass, the cold is seeping in. You need to call Advanced Window Products. They use the highest quality glass and premium vinyl to create state-of-the-art windows and frames, and for 38 years, they build those frames right here in Utah. Custom crafted for Utah's climate. The best windows you can buy at prices 30 and 40% less than what the big companies charge because they cut out the middleman. They're the factory. They even give you a lifetime warranty, and right now as we head into spring, save an extra $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Custom windows that'll give your house a fresh new look and save you money on your heating and air conditioning. Advanced Windows offers 60-month 0% financing, even buy now, pay later, and an extra $2,500 off. Call for a quote, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to Big Wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
Hi, Susan. We haven't seen or heard from you.
Cold.
We would like to locate Joyce.
The mysteries that made podcast history
Sheree Warren disappeared.
are now together for free. at kslpodcasts.com.
I'm Dave Cawley, the host of Cold. Join me for Season 1, The Susan Powell Case Files, Season 2, Justice for Joyce, and Season 3, The Search for Cherie. Listen anytime for free at kslpodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Republican senators are working hard to keep President Trump's agenda alive, focusing on several things like addressing Medicaid, addressing Social Security, tackling the nation's $36 trillion debt. I feel like, Rusty, you and I can at least agree that that's the number.
Yeah, it is a big number, and it's a problem.
And boosting defense spending. So I wanted to get into this a little bit at the end of this hour, Rusty, with you, and thinking about where Republicans stand on budget issues. So I'm just going to pick on the Republican Party a little bit and say, I feel like growing up, it was pretty clear, and so correct me if you think I've got this wrong, that Republicans would have been about welfare reform. So if you were having conversations around what parts of the budget that should be cut, one of the things that they would want to cut might be Medicaid, which is health care for poor people, right?
Yeah.
So that would be one of the places where Republicans would go. What I have found really interesting, so I'm just going to give you a quote from Steve Bannon, who is a former Trump advisor. He is right now Elon Musk's loudest critic from the right, so he's an interesting person out in the world. And he basically said on a podcast last month, a lot of MAGAs are on Medicaid, right? So he is kind of talking about people who are MAGA Republicans, right? So these are Trump voters, which are maybe not perfectly in tune with the Republicans I would have known growing up, right? So it's a different kind of breed of Republican, if you will, are going to really be touchy if Medicaid comes into the slash and in the cuts in this budget as Republicans try to find $880 billion in an effort, which, by the way, I think you and I agree with, $36 trillion is way too much debt to have.
Yeah.
So we absolutely have to address that. But maybe what would have been an easy conversation for Republican Congress members just even a couple of decades ago, what Steve Bannon is saying is maybe true, that a lot of our voters now are actually Medicaid recipients.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, as far as context, I don't give two hoots about Steve Bannon and what he says, first of all.
I appreciate that.
But aside from that, the point being, when you start looking into cutting a program or making modifications to a program that a lot of people rely on, it is politically difficult. It's a minefield. The problem with addressing Medicaid, I think it's not only a messaging problem, but it's also an implementation problem. I think genuinely Republicans want to get at fraud, waste, and abuse in Medicaid, when we're talking specifically about Medicaid. The idea that a healthy male 29-year-old sitting on the couch playing video games needs Medicaid is just wrong, right? And they want to root that type of stuff out so that the money can be used for those that actually need it. And by getting rid of that waste, fraud, and abuse, you actually free up money for those that truly need it. The problem is, if you don't message that right, it comes across as, I want to just push wheelchairs off the edge of the cliff. I don't care about these folks. And that is, I don't think that's the case. The problem is when you start making cuts to Medicaid and talking about the block grants that are sent to the states, you could have a state that implements it improperly, and you do harm those that do really, really need it. But I think ideally, they would want to just get at what they would call the fluff and the fraud, waste, and abuse that they want to get rid of. But that's hard to dial in. And on messaging, it's a very tough battle to win. And that's where I think it's politically, it's a minefield.
Right. So what's interesting for me is Senate Republicans, and we're talking Jim Justice from West Virginia, Shelley Capito, we've got Susan Collins from Maine, Murkowski from Alaska, Josh Hawley from Missouri, right? And we've got Tommy Tuberville from Alabama, who I would have thought anything Trump said, Tuberville would be like, go, saying we're going to need to not cut Medicaid. Our states depend on Medicaid. So even they are not... Right. So your point's well taken. Holly saying I'm not going to vote for something that cuts those folks' benefits, period. That's a red line for me. Right. So they are, and then all of them are saying, I trust President Trump. I'm sure he doesn't mean to do this. But I just counted 6 Republicans. So now you can't pass any budget.
Yeah.
Right. Because you only have that's too many Republicans gone out of the win column.
Yeah. Which gets down to the battle that the Senate and the House are having right now. is how to score the bill. The Senate is leaning on a procedure that would allow them to score it at a net zero, meaning if it's a tax cut that was done in 2017, why would extending it cost revenue to the government? The government's not getting that revenue now anyway. Personally, I totally agree with that stance. And if they can get it done that way, then they don't need to score it the same way and provide what are called pay-fors. But the House doesn't feel that way, and they're arguing about a lot of different pay-fors. And so to get at the real root of this debt problem, you do have to take a look at Medicaid, and that's been the toxic part of it. And what really drives me nuts is that so many elected officials don't, in my mind, speak truthfully about a lot of these things. And as we transition off of Medicaid, let's talk about Social Security. This past weekend, John Curtis, our senator from Utah, sat down on Meet the Press and spoke with host Kristen Welker, and she actually brought up Social Security. Let's listen to what they said.
Let me ask you, because Elon Musk ruffled some feathers when he referred to Social Security, something that he's also eyeing as a part of his Doge efforts, as a Ponzi scheme. Senator, do you see Social Security as a Ponzi scheme?
Well, I wouldn't use those words, but we're not being honest either with people. And that's why you'll actually see me in a couple of months introduce a change to Social Security. We're not being honest when we look people in the eye and say we're not going to touch it. If we don't touch it, it touches itself. You know that, right? That's not being honest with the American people. And I think that's one of the things that makes them not trust us, when we say something that they just know is not true.
So he went on and continued discussing why it needs to be addressed right now. Let's play that clip as well.
We don't need to impact the people that are in Social Security. But if we don't have a conversation about my kids, our 20-year-olds, our 30-year-olds, that's where the problem is. And so we can't be afraid of this conversation simply because people think we're going to take it away from them. We all need to say, look, those in retirement and those near retirement, we're not going to touch it. You're safe. But let's have that conversation, because my kids don't think they're going to get it. So why can't we have a conversation with them about moving some of the variables around? And the sooner we do it, the less dramatic it has to be. If we don't do it, we have worse decisions thrust upon us.
I love this. This is a really hard conversation because the one interest group that every American, God willing, gets into is being old. So that isn't a group that, unless something goes really awry, you should make it there. And then all of us are going to say, I don't touch my Social Security. Yeah. I did retirement plans based on having Social Security. Like I paid into this system for decades of my working career. Don't touch it. So it's interesting to me that, first of all, don't you just think all of the senators don't want to talk about Elon Musk? Like a little bit, right? Yeah. I'm like, Senator Curtis on this Meet the Press. Let's talk about Musk. And I'm sure he is like you sometimes with me. Ugh.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is the last thing I want to talk about.
Move on.
But he's being very fair. And I think, Rusty, you agree with the senator, right?
Oh, yeah. This is music to my ears in the work I had done previously in my life in looking at Social Security taxes and those kinds of things. Amen. He is actually willing to tell the truth. Everybody, including the current president, is not willing to be honest about this. Everybody says we're not going to touch it. We're not going to touch it. And as he said, if we don't do anything, it's a 30% cut across the board for everybody. It goes insolvent in 2034. And so he says we need to solve this the right way. And if you're honest about it, you can, as he said, go to people that are near retirement. I'm 52. I'm going to be, I'm in that camp, right? Or anybody that's in retirement and say, listen, you're fine. We are not touching any of that. We have to be honest about those that are 20 and 30-year-olds. Like my kids, they're in their 20s. Maybe one teen left and then other in the 20s. We have to be honest. They don't think they're going to have Social Security anyway. We have to have an honest conversation about either changing the age limit that you have to get to have those benefits, the amount of benefits you get, how much tax you pay to fund it. You're actually capped at how much Social Security tax you pay, and so maybe removing that ceiling. All of this is politically toxic stuff, but it's either that or you have the largest tax increase in American history on every single worker. No one wants that. So this is a conversation that needs to be had. And I mean, finally, amen, we have somebody that's willing to be honest about it. And it's Senator John Curtis from Utah. I think he deserves kudos about this because this is the first one I've seen of anyone willing to tell the truth. And as you can tell, it's driving me nuts.
Right. And I know we've discussed this before. And I will just tease a little bit the senator because he's like, in 2 months, I'll come out with an idea because even he knows that this is toxic. This is really hard.
You need to get this budget stuff done and then we'll talk about it. It has nothing to do Again, nothing to do with the current budget talks at all.
All right,
we'll be right
up,
back. Oh,
yeah.
sorry, it's your turn. Sorry. Okay, I just blew it. We'll be back after the break.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos. KSL's top local story. Riverdale police have accused the suspect at the center of last night's Amber Alert of murdering the mother of his children before fleeing with his young kids. Police say they were called to a house fire yesterday afternoon when they found the mother dead with a stab wound to her neck. After talking with her parents, they learned the children were missing and they issued the Amber Alert. Ricardo Trujillo has been arrested on suspicion of murder and arson. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. More bad news for Tesla. ABC's Mike Dubusky explains.
Tesla sales in Europe fell 49% in the first 2 months of this year, and the sales decline came as the broader electric vehicle market grew, according to the European Automobile Manufacturers Association. Europe has recently seen an influx of competitive and cheap electric vehicles from China.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk also recently sparked controversy for endorsing Germany's far-right AfD political party. Taking a look at your money at this moment at the close, the Dow is up by 4 points, sitting at 42,587. S&P 500 up by 9. The NASDAQ up by 83 points. Get ready for a few days of spring, and then, winter will be back. We'll get an update of the forecast coming up next.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Are you in search of a fulfilling career where you can work on a team that provides you room to grow, learn, and thrive every day? Focus Engineering and Surveying is looking for individuals to join their team who take pride in the customer service they provide and have a passion for their clients to be successful. No experience in engineering, CAD design, or surveying? No problem. Focus will train those who fit their team culture for rewarding careers in surveying and CAD design. If you can align with the core ideology and the Focus team culture, if you're internally driven, team-oriented, client-focused, and love personal development and growth, Focus Engineering and Surveying is the place for you. Enjoy a positive work environment and paid internship opportunities, plus fantastic benefits like great health care with 80% employer-paid premium and HSA matched up to $200 per month, 401k, vacation, even annual performance bonuses. Start your journey towards your new and fulfilling career. Apply now at FocusUtah.com. That's FocusUtah.com.
Over 3/4 of Americans suffer with foot pain every day. But Foot Solutions in Orem is here to give back your quality of life. Meet Patty.
I'm Patty from Saratoga Springs. I'm 74 years old. I just one day felt like I had a really bad stone bruise on the bottom of my foot. So I actually went to the doctor and he goes, "You've got a severe case of plantar fasciitis." I'm really an active person. I work outside a lot in my yard. I like to kayak and it was slowing me down from being able to launch my kayak. I could hardly get to the bathroom in the morning. The pain was so stabbing and bad.
What made the difference for Patty?
I discovered Foot Solutions in Orem. I was talking to a friend that I knew had plantar fasciitis and she said, "Have you tried Foot Solutions?" I went there and got some great orthotics and some cute supportive shoes. Then in about a month, the pain was almost completely gone. Talk about relief.
You deserve a life free of foot pain. Just search for Foot Solutions in Orem and find out more at footsolutions.com.
You really ought to go there. It's a good place.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. What's happening on the roads, Ricky?
We have a good-looking drive on all the Valley freeways, but right now I'm looking at a live shot of a crash with possible injuries in Tooele. This is southbound on SR 36 Main Street at 1000 North. We do have multiple lanes blocked at that intersection. Traffic is getting by, but there could be more emergency crews arriving at the scene, so it may be a spot you just plan for a little bit of backup or try to avoid altogether. Our 100th spring is right around the corner, and Murdoch Hyundai can help you take those curves in style. Right now, receive 2.99% for 6 years on the Tucson, Santa Fe, Elantra, or Sonata. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high today of 72 degrees. We will reach 80 for a high by Thursday before the bottom drops out on Friday. 40% chance of showers and the high only 59 degrees. Right now, a nice 67 degrees. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Leah Murray. And Leah, as we found out, Governor Spencer Cox has vetoed his first bill of the 2020.
Pause.
Yes.
I said, let's just pause you right there.
Okay.
So it's the first bill that he's vetoing. Why does he have to veto a bill? Rusty, he's a Republican.
Mm-hmm.
The legislature's all Republican. This is the dominant one-party state. Why, I feel, vetoes usually are a signal right from the executive that they're not happy with something the legislature's doing.
Yeah.
Usually happens when the legislature's got one party policy agenda and the executive has a different party policy agenda. Like, you don't really see Trump vetoing stuff coming out of Congress right now because it's all the same party.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me why Governor Cox, like a Republican governor, would ever have to veto anything from a Republican legislature?
Well, I think when you have a lot of different opinions in any party, you're going to have differences on policy. So I think one of the reasons to answer the question you asked is, yeah, there might be policy differences in a specific instance. We'll talk about, various issues there. I think anybody would be kidding themselves if they said politics was never involved in this. I think politics is often involved in these types of decisions, and other factors that, I think details, right? Those are, sometimes they disagree on details, and there's a natural tension. I've seen it in the entire time I've worked in this area between the Senate, the House, and the governor, the Senate and the governor, all three of those, of that triangle, there is often tension back and forth.
So pause. I don't mean to keep pausing you. I apologize.
That's two pauses.
Two pauses in one day. I'm done.
You've run
That's
out
all
of
the timeouts I get.
Yes.
The letter from the governor saying, one of the things I love most about serving as governor is the opportunity to work with all of you to make Utah an even better place to live, work, and raise a family. That sounds like a lot of... how do I say, icing on a cake, right? So it's like this, how do you break up with someone? You start with, it's not you, it's me. You are wonderful, I am terrible, now we're not dating anymore. A little bit in this messaging, is that him trying to acknowledge that there are tensions, right? Like, we know that there's tensions, but at the end of the day, we're all supposed to get along and do things for a better Utah. Is that him kind of owning that?
That's a good question. I think any way you can soften the message, soften the blow, I think I wouldn't fault him for doing that. This obviously will ruffle feathers in the legislature because it's a very deep in the weeds policy, and we'll get into it a little bit. But I can't fault him for making this a little prettier because he could have been direct, and he was a little more verbose is the word I was trying to think of.
Right, looking for a lot of words.
Yes.
A lot of words for we're ending this relationship. Yeah. All right, so...
Well, I don't think he's doing that. But he knows that some people are not happy about this.
So during the legislative session, Inside Sources, our show, spoke with Senator Fillmore. So let's just dig right into those weeds.
Senate Bill
if that's
37.
Right, about the bill. Here's how he explained what the process is and what his bill would have done.
So right now, the legislature authorized this tax, and it's required to be imposed by districts statewide at a rate that's set by the legislature. And then that money, when it's collected, it just goes right to school districts, and they spend it on education. And it will change by going to the state and then going back out for them to be spending on education. That's what I mean when I say they get the same amount of money, the same way, to be used for the same things.
So what we're talking about is Senate Bill 37, sponsored by Senator Lincoln Fillmore, which would have changed the process by which some property taxes are collected and then distributed to local school districts. Let's listen to the senator talk to us earlier about why he thought the change was needed.
The problem that we have here is that the current structure treats different schools differently, different school districts differently, based on the assessed value of their property and their number of students. So Park City, for example, the state already takes their money because they generate nearly $14,000 per student in revenue from this state-imposed tax, where the Alpine School District, for example, generates fewer than $800 per student. And so this, by being a statewide levy, it's designed to benefit students statewide. But under its current structure, it benefits some students much more than others. And as long as we have a statewide tax, we need to make sure that all students are benefiting equally.
So this is a complicated issue.
And this is the one that the governor vetoed.
Correct.
So why was he not persuaded by Senator Fillmore's argument?
Well, I'm trying to choose my words carefully because I disagree with the governor here. I disagree what he's saying, and I disagree. I don't know if complete information is being discussed. So he said in his letter, I'm just going to quote from his letter, at its core, this bill changes how we collect and distribute the state portion of property tax revenues for schools. So I'm going to pause right there. As you heard Senator Fillmore say, the legislature imposed this tax. The legislature adjusted this tax. They actually froze the rate for about 5 years. That's a whole other matter. That in my mind, this is a state-driven tax on the state level. And then he said, right now, but that's my opinion. Then he's going back to his letter. Right now, Utahns are currently told by their government that their local property tax dollars are going to fund their local schools, and that is true. Those are my words. That arrangement is spelled out specifically in our annual property tax notices, and it's a promise we've honored for decades. Senate Bill 37 represents a clear departure from this practice by moving those dollars into the state's general fund. And that's the end of his quote from the letter. That is where I disagree with him. Senate Bill 37 does not change the practice of moving those local dollars to the state's general fund. It moves the state basic levy to a different bucket and then is redistributed back to local school districts. I think it's more of an accounting issue, and I just think complete information is not being given. Therefore, I would not be surprised if the legislature listens carefully to this letter and decides what to do next about this.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Governor Cox says that he worries that the bill sends the wrong message to our schools and teachers about the value we place on our education funding. Do you think part of maybe his political response is that teachers maybe feel like, this is the hard year? Is that right? Like they might feel like not that the legislature gives them all the love that maybe they're due, right? And I do think, they're being told in another piece of legislation they're no longer allowed to collectively bargain, and maybe some of them counted on that. They're being told in another piece of legislature, like what flags they can fly in their classroom, and maybe they feel targeted about that. So I wonder if a little bit this is Governor Cox going, even if what you are saying, Rusty Cannon, is true, and maybe really nothing is different, right? It's just about the levy and the bucket. But the answer actually is teachers are feeling under attack. Teachers matter, and I just have to say no to this because maybe we didn't explain it well enough. Maybe everyone didn't listen to Inside Sources earlier, right, with Senator Fillmore, and I don't like the message it sends to our teaching community.
Yeah, and he alluded to that in the letter continuing. He said, at a minimum, such accounting creates a perception problem as we lose the direct connection between taxpayers and their neighborhood schools. So he's talking about perception. I have no idea if politics was involved in this. People can make their own conclusions with that. I certainly have my opinion. Everybody has their opinion. But I think issuing a veto based on perception problems, I think it's thin ice to stand on. I think you should do it based on principle and not on maybe worry about perception. And so and the other issue I have is this was an interim bill. It was discussed over interim, and it had hearings throughout the House and the Senate as you go through the process in committee. Here, none of these concerns were really brought up ever in public ways. So why all of a sudden the veto? Maybe I don't have all the facts. Maybe I just need to learn more, but I'm a little confused.
I'm a little confused too, which is what's prompted my question at the top of this segment, Rusty, which is one would think, especially what you just said, that no one heard about it, right? There was no controversy earlier, that a better communication between the governor and the legislature, right, would have happened earlier in this whole conversation.
Yeah, or the parties involved need to stay educated. Do your homework. Pay attention so that you don't do this last minute. All right, coming up on Inside Sources, Governor Cox also signed a whole slew of bills yesterday. We'll talk about a few of those next.
When you're in the thick of a project, Harbor Freight is the place that always comes in handy. Whether you're picking up something for your pickup truck or a power tool for your project, at Harbor Freight, your dollar always goes further. And these days, when everything seems to cost more, you can take pride in knowing that you get hard-working tools at hard-working prices. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
For 70 years, we've been known as the Humane Society of the United States. But as the challenges animals face have grown, so have we. We are now called Humane World for Animals. And if you love animals, you're part of our world. Humane World for Animals. The end of animal cruelty.
Start a new Easter tradition with your family.
We joyfully proclaim that because God so loves us, He sends His Son.
Experience Kirk Bester and Jenny Oaks Bakers. The Redeemer, music on the life of Jesus the Christ. March 31st at Abravanel Hall. Save 25% on remaining seats using code RISEN25. Tickets at JennyOaksBaker.com.
It doesn't matter if your only neighbors are wildlife or just wild in general.
I would propose that amendment.
If you work from home or work is technically at home, every homeowner can save money by getting a ThermWise home energy plan from Enbridge Gas. Discover ways to make your home more energy efficient and apply for rebates if you purchase any energy efficient appliances. Schedule a home energy plan from Enbridge Gas at thermwise.com.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Troy, I think it's high time we pull the plug on winter and start this spring camping season off with a bang.
Couldn't agree more. And the best way to get a jump start on spring is in an RV.
Precisely. Now, if only there was a way to extend show deals on said RVs so people could really take advantage. Do you know of anyone who could possibly, hypothetically, do such a thing?
I know a guy.
I thought you might.
Get into Bish's RV to get last chance show pricing on all RVs.
We're talking travel trailers starting under $129 per month on approved credit.
Clearance pricing on all remaining new in stock 2024s.
No payments until June OAC.
And a free 1-year RV Fix membership with every RV purchase. Your fast track to RV service repairs.
And at Bish's, you'll always skip all the hidden freight and prep fees you get with other dealers.
It's your last chance to start camping season early with the best show pricing deals around. Only at Bish's RV of Salt Lake and American Fork, where memories begin.
Based on approved credit, 20% down, 8.99% APR for 180 months. Stock number 89911-81734. Subject to prior sale. See dealer details.
These days, losing weight is such a roller coaster. You try the new medications, and when you stop taking them, you gain it all back.
Today is a new
day.
Today is a new day.
Let Soda Weight Loss teach you the healthy, natural way to let go of the weight for good.
Do you know how good it feels to let go of 51 pounds of belly fat? And I did it without drugs, shots, or hunger. Because Soda Weight Loss works. Just look at all the Google reviews and all the thousands of before and after pictures.
For a limited time, 2 people can start with Soda Weight Loss for the price of one.
What does that mean? It's more fun?
Double the motivation, double the results, half the cost.
The best decision I've made in a long time was just to call Soda Weight Loss.
Take advantage of Soda Weight Loss 2-for-1 partner program. Visit sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Eye on the Hill 2025. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
Governor Spencer Cox vetoed his first bill yesterday, but also signed 75 other bills into law. Rusty, I think they passed 582. He's got 1 veto, 75 bills signed, plus I think maybe a couple other dozen over the course of the session. He's got until Thursday at midnight. I'm going to tell you what, the governor has homework.
Yes, he needs a good pen because he's got a lot of signing still to do. And this is typical. A lot of it gets done right here at the end. A lot of bills. It's the time to burn the midnight oil for them. To obviously they want to go through each and every bill and make sure they're making the right decision, which obviously you're hoping that they would do. And he goes through that process. So this is, how it goes. He's got a lot left.
All right. So one of the ones he signed is SB 73, which is about initiatives. It sets new requirements for ballot initiative applications, requiring that initiative backers provide a detailed description of how the proposed law would be funded and if it would require a tax increase. Then, if they successfully get the initiative on the ballot, it would require backers to follow that same publication requirements that lawmakers have when they put proposed constitutional amendments onto the ballot, which would increase the cost of ballot initiatives by about $1.4 million. Now, you gave us all of your feelings about the veto that we talked about in the last segment. Rusty, do you have serious feelings about SB 73?
I do, actually. Yes, I think this is an excellent bill, and I'm glad he signed it. As you mentioned, it just requires anybody that forwards an initiative that would have sort of a budget effect or require a tax increase, they have to do now what the legislature has to do, which is find where that will be paid for, which makes complete sense to me. If you want the state to, I'm making this up, if you want the state to go buy a bike for everybody, you're going to have to tell in that, and if this was done by initiative, you'd have to name in the paperwork, so to speak, or the application for this, where that funding would come from. You can't just throw it to the legislature and say, good luck. And
go fund the bikes.
Go fund the bikes. It's like you're going to have to say, we're going to propose a tax hike, or it's going to come out of food for the kids, whatever we're going to take. So I think it's an excellent bill, and I commend the governor for signing it.
Rusty, you're not worried at all at perhaps the chilling effect maybe on initiatives by if I have to do this work and I've got to have publication requirements, that
Nope, doesn't bug me a bit.
Does it because you don't like initiatives?
Nope, I think initiatives are fine, but anybody that knows initiatives knows that there is absolutely funding behind initiatives, typically out-of-state funding and large pockets. Look at any past initiative, especially the last ones done in Utah on Medicaid expansion and medical marijuana, almost entirely funded by out-of-state money to the tune of millions. That amount of money is not a problem for those that back these initiatives.
So a little bit, I hear you saying it's not a chilling effect because they have the money, but also maybe what you could say is, look, if you mean it, raise the funds.
Yes.
Even if you didn't have out-of-state backing.
If it's a good idea, people should feel good about funding it.
That's right. People should feel good about funding it and raising money to be able to do that publication requirement. All right, now, Here's another bill that he passed, buying beer from your car. So I want you all to know that I am from New York and the rules around alcohol are not as intense as Utah, but also not as loose as Louisiana. So I want to be clear, like in the state of New York, you can't buy alcohol on Sunday. Right?
Really?
So, yeah, they have rules from 2 a.m. to noon on Sunday.
So maybe we're not that crazy in Utah.
Well, you're a little crazy.
Okay,
Like there's a spectrum of crazy,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
But one of the things that I used to be able to do in New York that I can't do here was I was in a wine club, right? So you could have wine delivered to your house. So you could be like, I would like to have 2 bottles of red and 2 bottles of white just in my house all the time. Never know if friends come over, you want to have wine and not have to run to the liquor store. And you can't do that in Utah. Rusty, I was really hoping SB 328 was going to make it that I could, but I feel like now that I read it more closely, all I can actually do is buy beer at Walmart.
Okay, so yeah, I don't think this had anything to do with the wine club, but you bring up, so this is an interesting bill. I don't think most people knew that before this passed, that if you ordered groceries, and I only learned this because I know the
Because
retail,
you buy a lot of beer, Rusty?
Well, no. The Retail Association head, I'm good friends with, he's a great guy, and I've heard this over the years. If you ordered groceries in the past, let's say at Walmart, and you wanted them to bring it out to your car, and you had beer in the order, they could bring every single item out to your car. But for them to hand you the beer, you had to physically get out of your car and set foot, not all the way in the store. Only one, you have to step over the threshold of the doorway for them to then hand it to you. Makes no sense why that is any better or safer. But that was just something that obviously was cleaned up with Senate Bill 328. One of the things, I'm sure had other parts in it, now they can bring it out to your car, if I read this correctly. Another thing is now allowing the straw test in a bar or restaurant, a common practice. Mixologists, they kind of dip a straw into the cocktail, and then they pull that out and taste it to kind of test and ensure the quality. That was prohibited before and is now going to be allowed.
And I'm just smiling, listeners. I need you to know because I'm pretty sure Rusty has never bought beer at Walmart, and I was teasing him earlier. So just make sure that is clear. Another one that came through is HB 551, which is about elected official publicity. Basically, I think addressing what a public official can use public funds for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it not only defines some terms, but it prohibits a public official, and we actually had Representative Kyle on talking about this bill on our show, prohibits a public official from making an expenditure from public funds on a billboard or a mass communication. It has some stuff around it. This came about because of some issues. I can't remember even with county, if it was I think it was local here in the Wasatch Front area, where a curious mailer with good timing showed up in some boxes before an election of somebody's beautiful face on saying, "Hey, Thursday's garbage day. Just wanted to remind you as the mayor." Now, that's not what it said, but I'm just saying.
So it clearly looked like a campaign
Yeah, exactly.
ad.
And it was just a little bit, you're not. So this puts some guardrails around that you can't do that. So that is now signed by the governor.
All right, my favorite bill is, I left this one for last because when you're in charge, you get to pick your favorites for the end, Rusty. Yes. Is HB 381, which basically requires civic education in high school. So this is a bill from Representative Welton, civics education, and then we've got John Johnson's bills, SB 334, the Center for Civics Excellence up at Utah State. Governor Cox saying the most important bills of the 2025 legislative session. Excited to sign both. Our civic responsibilities have been a fundamental part of education. However, we have strayed from these basic education requirements. Rusty, I want to just tell you, I am someone who teaches Intro to Government. When I first moved to Utah 23 years ago, my first semester, walked into a class and I was like, I want to talk to you about the Constitution and the transaction costs that are in the Constitution. Like the founders are signaling what matters the most. Like if it's hard to do, that means it's a higher transaction cost. If it's easier, and you kind of had this really neat conversation around what that document does. And I discovered really quickly that my students didn't know that there were 3 branches of government.
Ooh.
And at that time I thought, did they even learn government in high school? And the answer was they didn't have to, right? So a little bit for 23 years, I want you to just know my children who are in my house, right? When they went through high school, were required to do 4 years of social studies classes because I, as a parent, was like, you have to absolutely do this. Yeah. But we didn't require that of our students generally. I think it led to, not just in Utah, he's not wrong. It's not just Utah, it's across the country. There has been a lower understanding. And I do this in my classes. I'm like, how many Supreme Court justices are there? You know, like what is the party of the Senate majority right now? and most of my students, and they're self-selecting into a government class, don't know. Oh, I'm so excited for the potential of this bill, Rusty, to maybe...
I think it's a great thing. In fact, I bet you could go online now and see interviews done. It's spring break time, right?
Yes.
And this is often, I've seen it done. In fact, I think I saw it recently on my feed. Was they were interviewing people on a beach somewhere on spring break, asking these questions about horribly wrong answers. It is sad. And so I agree with the governor. This is so badly needed. And sounds like two great bills, and Utah will come to the table and make sure kids get the education that they need.
All right, next up on Inside Sources, we just talked about civics, my favorite bill. Sounds like, Rusty, you and I are in a Venn diagram on just at least that one. We agree. Mm-hmm. Now let's talk about civics as it relates to the three branches of government. I know you've read a book about it.
Yes.
We want to get into it in our next segment. Stay with us.
Good afternoon, 2:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. KSL's top local story this hour, State Senator Lincoln Fillmore is defending his legislation after Governor Cox vetoed it yesterday afternoon. It would have changed the way property tax revenue goes to school districts. Fillmore tells David Dujanovic the governor's reason for his veto misunderstands his intent, which was to better distribute money to schools.
It doesn't recognize that the change here is just so minor, only changing the timing by which that money is pooled and redistributed.
State Auditor Tina Cannon says the veto will save the state from some accounting issues later on. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, bad news for Tesla. ABC's Mike Dubusky explains.
Tesla sales in Europe fell 49% in the first 2 months of this year, and the sales decline came as the broader electric vehicle market grew, according to the European Automobile Manufacturers Association. Europe has recently seen an influx of competitive and cheap electric vehicles from China.
In Europe, Tesla's CEO Elon Musk also recently sparked controversy for endorsing Germany's far-right AfD political party. On Wall Street today, the Dow was up, but only by 4 points. Coming up on KSL, warmer and warmer weather yet. Stay here for the forecast. KSL News Time, 2:31.
Hey everyone, Dave and I want to introduce you to the owner of Advanced Garage Door. Kyle, tell us about Advanced Garage Door.
Well, for over 30 years, Advanced Garage Door has been built on one simple principle. Do the job right the first time and stand behind our work.
That's awesome. Tell us about your team.
I'm incredibly proud of the team we've put together. Every one of our employees is trained to deliver the highest quality workmanship using the best parts available. We don't cut corners and we don't take shortcuts. That's why we're the only garage door company in Utah that offers a lifetime warranty that includes labor. As long as you follow our recommendations, you're covered for life. And right now, when you purchase a new garage door, we're including the garage door opener for free.
And what if we just need service?
We'll inspect your door at no cost with no obligation. If your door ends up needing parts, we're offering $100 towards any parts needed for a repair.
For all your garage door needs, visit advanced-door.com.
Or call 801-989-DOOR. That's 801-989-3667.
Advanced Garage Door, where we sell peace of mind.
Home sellers, do not lose money selling your home the old way. Make more money when you sell your home with a Bank Buster loan. This is Rod with the Save Right Realtor team at Realty Path. Average interest rates are in the mid to high sixes, but Save Right Realtors will market your home with a fixed rate as low as 4.75%. The ultra-low Bank Buster rate gives buyers monthly payments that are hundreds less than comparable homes. When your home is much more affordable, you get a larger pool of potential buyers who can buy your home. When buyers compare homes and see your home is hundreds less per month, you'll get a quicker offer and a higher sale price. Do not lose money selling your home the old way. Sell faster and make more money. Sell with Save Right. Sell with the Bank Buster loan. Call 801-APPROVE or visit SaveRight.com.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Here's how to get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Switch to Consumer Cellular. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com and start saving today. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Mountain America's low-rate auto loans. Here's Ricky Meese.
We already had a little bit of busy traffic on I-15 southbound near 90th South. It's moving okay, just thicker than normal. Overall, Valley Freeway traffic in pretty good shape. We do have a crash in Davis County, eastbound Antelope Drive at 3000 West is blocking a right lane of traffic. And then a little further south, Juab County drivers, just a heads up, if you're on your way towards Santa Quin and Utah County northbound I-15 has a right lane closed as UDOT crews are there working on the structure. Looking to connect your kids with nature? Flower gardening is hands-on, time together, and memories. Olson's Greenhouse offers perfect plants for families to grow together. For porches, patios, beds, or containers, visit Olson's at OGG.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast, we could hit 72 this afternoon, 79 tomorrow, and then a record-setting 80 degrees for Thursday. Right now it's 67 at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. This is Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Utah's top political experts break down the first 100 days of the new administration and discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm your co-host, Rusty Cannon, here with Leah Murray. Leah, I am so excited about this next segment. I have been looking forward to it over the weekend, as I knew we were going to be together today on this show after I listened to a book. I was driving to southern Utah and back, and I finished an audiobook. I don't have time to read anymore, so I do audiobooks, and I also fall asleep when I read, so I just like listening to it in the car. I finished an audiobook by Supreme Court Justice Neil Gorsuch. It's called A Republic If You Can Keep It. And it's a interesting dive into not only his life story, but also just his judicial philosophy. So I thought, who better to have a discussion with than you, as an expert, as you teach about this stuff in the three branches of government. I was really looking forward to this. So let me tell you a couple of thoughts that came to my mind as I was listening to it. He talked about, and I hadn't thought about this until listening to his book, in his mind, a good judge is one that often has rulings that they have to make that they don't agree with. That if a judge likes all of the rulings they make, they're doing it horribly wrong. And let me explain. A judge, as his definition of understanding, this is mine as well, is to interpret the laws that are on the books and not not formulate an opinion based on what they wish the law said. And I think this is, and we'll get into this later, goes into the battle going on right now in D.C. with judges and the Trump administration. So if I understand this correctly, Leah, you're the expert here, but Article 1 of the Constitution says all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States. And then it goes on from there. So if you take that literally, that means all legislative powers herein granted, meaning the power to make legislation is granted exclusively to Congress. And then if you go to Article 3, right? Article 3 is where it sets up the judiciary. It talks about the roles, and I can't scroll fast enough on my screen to get to Article 3.
All judicial power.
Yes, all judicial power vests in
the Supreme Court.
In the Supreme Court.
And all inferior courts that Congress does ordain.
Got it. Okay. So it gets to his point, and this is where I was curious to get your thoughts. Is he right? Where a judge should have rulings where they don't agree with the ruling because they wish the law was a different way. Because and here's where I think I take it a little bit further, if they're going to just go ahead and just modify, then they should just be a legislator, right? Because now then just get rid of legislators and just have judges. Because if they're going to just change change the laws and willy-nilly do that through rulings because they just don't like the way it is, that's wrong. The way the system is built is that if you don't like the statute, you get the legislative branch to change it. And you as a judge cannot change it. You have to interpret it as it is written.
Right. So his argument, I think, reveals a commitment to judicial restraint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which would say the judge is going to say, I'm ruling this out of bounds, but that I don't then throw the next pitch, right? So the umpire says that's a foul, but then the ball would go, I'm using a tortured metaphor here from baseball, but the ball would go back into the field of play and the players would play it. And the judge is just kind of ruling on whether that was a strike, whether that was a fair ball, whether that was a foul ball. And I think, I don't know that he's wrong, but I'm not sure it's like perfectly binary for me like that, Rusty. So I'll give you a very specific example. One of the most famous rulings in this country's history is Miranda v. Arizona. And Miranda v. Arizona, the Supreme Court said, when you get arrested, the police officer has to say to you, right? And the thing that you hear in every crime procedural, you are being arrested. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. If you do not have an attorney, one will be appointed to, like that whole thing that we all know from watching every movie, any CSI episode, like we all know that saying. That came from Miranda v. Arizona. So the judges in that case said to Arizona, you didn't tell this person, Mr. Miranda, about his rights. And you really should have. When the government is arresting someone, they have to make the people aware of the rights. Here are your list of rights that you need to read. Yeah. They're known as the Miranda rights. In that situation, the judges would have been behaving in what we would call an active way, right? So instead of saying to Arizona, hey, Arizona, redo it, right? Like, train your police officers and redo it. Let's see if you get it better. They basically said, no. Everyone needs to know what their rights are. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be and can be used against you. The right to an attorney. If you do not have one, the court will order, appoint one to you. And I guess I'm okay with that, Rusty, right?
Yeah.
So I want to be not as strictly and narrowly defining what judges do, maybe in the same way that Supreme Court Justice Gorsuch is doing, because I do think sometimes maybe they are smarter than the legislators. And I say that with a big smile. But, right, they are sitting in a role of discernment. They know that maybe they've seen this case for the 15th time where the police officers are not giving people the right. Does that make sense? Yeah. They're not explaining their right to remain silent. So they basically just go, look, we're done. All across the country, every police officer has to say you have the right to remain silent. And I'm not sure that I automatically think there's a problem with that. So I guess what I'd want to say is I feel like maybe the default position should be judicial restraint, but not always in every case is it required. And then I'm looking for my judges to be discerning when they're a little more active.
Yeah, I think, and if you look at the rulings that he's done since he's been on the Supreme Court.
By the way, Miranda way predates him, right? That's from the 1960s.
So let me ask you about another one. I assume you've taught about Marbury versus Madison. That's the big one that I have a problem with that one. This one was in 1803, and if I understand that correctly, this was the Supreme Court giving themselves power that didn't exist in the Constitution, and it has stood ever since, and I think that's wrong.
Although I will say this, because I teach this to my students, and I always say, man, I need Lin-Manuel Miranda to do the Marbury v. Madison musical, because that's a much better soap opera than the Hamilton musical.
Yeah.
But the answer there actually is this. Alexander Hamilton, when he is defending the judiciary in the Federalist Papers, references judicial review. So while the founders didn't write it into the Constitution, we do see it in their conversation around why you should be okay with the judiciary. So to be fair to Marbury, I think I have read, like letters between founders, and I've read Alexander Hamilton defending judicial review. So it was kind of like they knew. Anyway, they all kind of talked about it being a thing. They just didn't write it into Article 3.
Yeah.
But you're not wrong that, man, it was a power grab, right? Yeah. And Thomas Jefferson at the time just kind of let that power go.
Yeah.
But to be fair to Marshall at that time, the Chief Justice, I do think there was a notion of what judicial review could be and what it looks like. And that case kind of solidifies into precedent what we'd heard founders talking about.
Yeah, and a lot of what he talked about in his book is that, to push back on one thing you said, is that judges are not smarter than others. They are human as well. The problem is, in my mind, where if they're rewriting law in too much of a fashion as I've described, you've blurred the lines between the three branches of government, and they become a legislative branch, and that's just wrong in my mind. And where it seems that the proper functioning is based on the Constitution, is that the laws are established, as it says, solely by the legislature. And then they are implemented, or I guess enforced, maybe is the right word, not only the executive branch, but the judicial branch. And that blurring, I think, is a problem. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. The battle in D.C. is a little bit of a derivative of this.
Right, but I disagree, because even right there, what you just said, the executive branch has the power and is expected constitutionally to give a State of the Union address suggesting legislation that they think necessary. So the founders gave the executive branch some legislative power.
Yeah.
My point is, I just don't see it as mutually exclusive, right, Rusty? But I'll have to read the book, and then we can argue about it.
Yeah, that's right. It was really good. I enjoyed it, and he had some great advice, especially for those that want to go into law, be a lawyer, judge. It was phenomenal. He gives all kinds of great lessons in it. But anyway, good discussion. Thanks for letting me do that. I was looking forward to it. All right, in our final segment, we'll talk about something a little lighter: presidential portraits, and what President Trump says is an unflattering painting of him in Colorado. Stay with us.
These days, losing weight is such a roller coaster. You try the new medications, and when you stop taking them, you gain it all back.
Today is a new day.
Today is a new day. Let Soda Weight Loss teach you the healthy, natural way to let go of the weight for good.
Do you know how good it feels to let go of 51 pounds of belly fat? And I did it without drugs, shots, or hunger. Because Soda Weight Loss works. Just look at all the Google reviews and all the thousands of before and after pictures.
For a limited time, 2 people can start with Soda Weight Loss for the price of one.
What does that mean? It's more fun?
Double the motivation, double the results, half the cost.
The best decision I've made in a long time was just to call Soda Weight Loss.
Take advantage of Soda Weight Loss 2-for-1 partner program. Visit sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
Join KSL News Radio's Amanda Dixon on Friday from 1 to 3 p.m. at the newest Bedrock Quartz location in Sandy, 8916 South State Street. Enter to win $5,000 in Bedrock Quartz products and services.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Pro Savings Days are back at Lowe's with limited time savings on the supplies pros need. Get up to 40% off select major appliances. Plus, save an additional $100 on every $1,000 you spend on select major appliances. And don't miss your chance to activate and earn 3 times the points on select DeWalt and Klein tools. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 3/28. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See associate or Lowe's.com for more details on qualifying items.
Do you currently use a CPAP machine to treat sleep apnea? Are you looking for a smaller, more comfortable solution? Consider a custom-fitted oral appliance from Sound Sleep Medical. In many cases, these appliances can be as effective as CPAP, and oral appliances are usually covered by insurance or Medicare. To make an appointment or to learn more, call Sound Sleep Medical at 801-285-9731. That's 801-285-9731, or visit soundsleepmedical.com.
A CPA should be the first person you think of to help you get the most from your taxes. CPAs are the most qualified professionals to prepare your taxes, maximize your refund, minimize your tax liability, and tax plan your future years. CPAs are more competitive price-wise than the big box stores. Along with extensive tax expertise, CPAs also provide personal financial planning, business growth strategies, and general accounting services. Your CPA can make valuable tax-saving suggestions that a software program can't anticipate. For 100 years, the Utah Association of CPAs has served the professional community as the go-to resource for education, training, and advocacy as trusted advisors. They want you to get the best when it comes to your financial health. Hire a CPA and get the best. Go to uacpa.org to find a CPA that's right for you. That's uacpa.org. Proud sponsor of the Money Making Sense podcast with Heather Kelly. Download wherever you listen to podcasts.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Mountain America Expo Center, Sandy. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness, and Utah isn't immune.
With nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or some other form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. KSL has teamed with 988 Utah, the free suicide and crisis lifeline, to bring you hope and help you thrive.
If you or a loved one is experiencing a mental health crisis, call or text 988.
Because a healthy mind matters.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Jeff Kaplan.
When I was a kid, my parents got me a subscription to Newsweek magazine. I would devour every page into the night. And to this day, I sit on my iPad looking for stories for my Minute of News, flesh out our coverage, and I get to share the news with you.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Rusty Cannon, do you know what I have never done?
Tell me.
I've never used one of those filters on your phone to make you look better. Right. I feel like it is what it is. So if I take a picture or a selfie.
The filters, yeah. In addition to not having TikTok on my phone and now Signal apparently everyone else is using that I've never used. I have never used the filter. I wouldn't know the first thing.
Rusty, how do you feel about pictures that are like taken that are not great of you?
They're not fun to look at, and you hope that they are taken down immediately. Right? And I've had that where you're in conversations with friends or family and you're looking, oh, that's terrible. You have to erase it. Do not post that. Right? It's usually the
and it's interesting too. Like sometimes it's like a group photo and everyone else looks fabulous, but all you can see is like, oh no, my hair. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like my husband, we did a family photos years ago and his collar was like tucked under his sweater for the whole day. So every picture we had, the collar was under his sweater and he was like, why didn't anyone tell me? And I said, these are our family pictures and these are all we have. And so they're going up on the wall and you're just going to have to manage the fact that the collar is under your sweater and every time you look at it when you walk by it. All right, so we're talking about this because there is a picture in Colorado that was painted, by the way, in 2019.
So it's been there a while.
Yeah, this is like 6 years ago. And you might wonder to yourself, why are we talking about it now? Well, that is because Sunday night, President Trump wrote on Truth Social, nobody likes a bad picture or painting of themselves, but the one in Colorado in the state capitol put up by the governor along with all the other presidents was purposefully distorted to a level that even I, perhaps, have never seen before. So real quick, I want to be clear. It's a Republican who did the fundraiser to get it up there. Does that make sense? And it happened in 2019.
Yeah, raised $11,000 in an online fundraiser for the portrait.
Right, to get that portrait up. Now, we took a look, and you all, not if you're driving, my goodness, don't Google this, but if you are taking a look and you can like kind of Google the Obama distorted portrait. And I said, yeah, that's who he is. But Rusty said, no, you thought it was.
Oh, it's a spitting image of Tiger Woods.
No,
of Obama.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I jump right to Obama?
Yeah, you said Obama.
Yeah.
Okay.
My pardon. But yeah, so in Colorado, there is all the presidents up there.
Yes, all on the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's start with President Trump. I just misspoke, and I apologize for that. President Trump's picture, I said, oh, that's him. And you said.
Oh, no, it looked terrible. Absolutely terrible.
Why does it look terrible?
There's maybe 40 extra pounds in that picture. As far as how it's depicted. If it were me, I obviously I wouldn't tweet about it or demand that it be taken down, but I privately would be like, are you kidding me? It's a really bad picture.
I wonder why he didn't notice until now.
Well, I think I'm only guessing that he didn't know. And it was brought to his attention. I don't know whether it was a social media post or something finally brought to, because obviously, as you mentioned, it's been up for a long time. And apparently, according to reports now, it will be taken down. But and I know I jumped the gun because you used the word Obama. We were looking at so these are apparently done by the same artist. And is it maybe an artist issue? Because when I looked at the Obama one, I thought it looked quite a bit like Tiger Woods. It's like the spitting image of Tiger Woods.
That's right. It's interesting because President Trump looked at his picture and said, take it down. Like, I don't look good in that picture. And then said, the artist also did President Obama, and he looks wonderful. But I'm going to just tell you, like you just said, we kind of looked at it to compare. And he does look like Tiger Woods. It doesn't actually look like Barack Obama at all. Mm-hmm. In the picture that we're looking on the website, you can see the portrait of Bill Clinton. We think he's the only one who looks good.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting just how quickly this took on a life of its own. I'm curious. In fact, maybe the report mentions how he found out, but pretty quick to say, hey, I think they're using the word purposely bad. I don't know if that was the issue, but I could see why somebody would want it down. I'm just surprised that, it's taken 6 years to notice and to have this reaction.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. Do you ever look at portraits of like famous people from history, right? So it's kind of like, this is the painting of King Charles II, right, or whatever.
Yeah. There's a whole gallery in D.C. The portrait gallery is phenomenal.
Right.
And you go there, and they have a whole section on the presidential portraits and all of that. I think a portrait, typically, especially with elected officials or some people with notoriety, it often is a significant thing where you have that, and it's a memorial to them. And so I could see why somebody would get bristly about how you look.
Yeah, but a little bit, don't you think? So let's just have this argument, because I know you and I are going to argue about it.
Sure.
Like, it's the artist's prerogative, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't have to hang the picture, right? But a little bit, if you've been commissioned. So the thing I was thinking of, like, back in the day, royalty would have their portraits commissioned, and they always looked really attractive because the portrait artist would have been like, I'm going to get only paid, right? Yeah. If I make you look amazing. So you kind of look at these old pictures of these kings and queens, right, across history, and they're all these gorgeous people, and it's like, no, probably some of them had a mole in the wrong place, right? That doesn't show up in the portrait. So a little bit, I feel, I don't know, like I would rather have the artist doing something, do you know what I'm saying, that like doesn't cater to the vanity of the public official that they are talking about. Yeah. Because also, Rusty, he's not a private person. He's a president. Yeah. The artist said she painted the portrait of him and Obama intentionally wanting them not to look political. Right, so they both don't.
I think that was mission accomplished there.
Right, so that didn't happen. But a little bit, she wanted them just to look like humans, Yeah. So I wonder. I like how you said at being offended by it 6 years later, but also I just kind of think, no, people get to paint a picture of you when you're an elected public official, and a little bit, grow up and don't complain.
Yeah, I think this is an illustration of. I've used this on the show before. A description of sometimes how President Trump operates is you're driving the car down the road and you're going in a straight line, and then a fly flies into your car through the the crack in the window, and then you start swatting at it. You're swatting at fly, and you're spending so much time swatting at this fly, you drive the car off the road. This reminds me of those types of situations of, is this really a fly you need to swat at because you're kind of driving the car off the road here, and that gets to other instances or. In this administration or his previous one, where I thought just sometimes you're swatting at flies. I think this is another one. However, talking out of both sides of my mouth, when I look at the picture, it is not a good picture.
It's not a good picture. Yeah. But Rusty, I love how you just said that, because that reminds me of conversations we've had over the last bit where you keep saying, man, what I need for President Trump to do is stay on target, talk about policy, not go off the rails. And when he starts to go off the rails, you're like, that's not helpful. Yeah. So what I hear you saying is this maybe is not helpful.
I don't think it's helpful. I think it's something that could have been handled in a back channel way. Like, why did the public have? I mean, just go make the request to take it down. You don't have to tweet about it, or truth about whatever the platform is, and make a big deal out of it, and make a mountain out of a molehill. I think it could have been done gracefully and privately in that way. But do what he wants. It's not his style really to do things that way at all. But that would probably be the better way. Just keep the focus on substantive policies that you're trying to pass that mean something to the American people in a good way. That's what you should be spending your time on.
I love this. I want to just tell you, I'm reading some quotes from the article studying it. One of the people, a person from Wyoming, got their picture in front of the portrait and said, honestly, he looks a little chubby, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you were commenting on. Yeah. And another Trump supporter from Arkansas said, I think it looks just like him. I think he's smoother than all the other ones, and it looks fine. So maybe it's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, I was going to say, beauty
in
the eye of the beholder. I think everybody can go and make their own judgment at how it looks. But getting back to the conversation we had before, too, portraits are a good thing, and especially for elected officials. It helps us remember them, and I can't fault him for wanting something that looks better.
Yeah, I also think maybe we could just do photographs. To a certain extent, now we have cameras.
Yeah, but that's not as much fun.
Okay,
right?
Because the portrait gallery is cool, and the
exactly.
oil is cool, and all of that. All right. Thank you so much for listening to us today on Inside Sources. Join Aaron Ryder and Taylor Morgan tomorrow. Next up, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News. Have a lovely day.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon, 3 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Jeff Kaplan. We're at 66 degrees. KSL's top story. The subject of last night's Amber Alert has been arrested on suspicion of murder and arson. Our team coverage begins live with KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera. He says this is only the latest in a disturbing history of violence. Eric?
Jeff, police documents obtained by KSL today show Riverdale officers discovered a woman with a stab wound to the neck when they responded to calls about a mobile home fire. Police say the door was wide open. Once they identified the victim, they realized her 2 children and Ricardo Trujillo were nowhere in sight. That led to the Amber Alert and eventually Trujillo's arrest. Court documents show a troubling history of domestic violence, including a January incident where Trujillo was accused of domestic violence in front of a child and property damage. In 2021, he was sentenced to 180 days in prison for choking and punching his pregnant girlfriend. Police say the children have been found and are now safe with family. Reporting live, Eric Cabrera, KSL News Radio.
Well, the unthinkable events in Riverdale are bound to leave emotional scars on the 2- and 3-year-old victims who lost their mom. That's why experts are now trying to ease the kids into the healing process. KSL News Radio's Adam Small on the way these experts are going to try to make a difference.
Specially trained workers with the Children's Justice Center are going to work with the kids to not only try to learn anything new from them, but to help them cope with everything they've gone through. The head of the Weber Morgan Center tells me building rapport and being patient with them is a huge part of that. Ideally, the kids will be willing to open up enough to talk about what they've gone through, but whether that happens or not, the center's goal is to simply try to reduce the trauma.
The center's goal isn't only to just help the kids now, but also for years to come. KSL News Time 3:02. Kevin Franke is now officially divorced from convicted child abuser Ruby Franke. He filed after his wife's arrest. The courts awarded Kevin full custody of their minor children. Ruby is not allowed any contact with the kids. Utah's Attorney General is in D.C. today. His legal team is arguing a case before the U.S. Supreme Court. The crux of the case, Attorney General Derek Brown claims the Clean Air Act is being used to shut down energy production.
This is an issue that matters to the state of Utah.
Brown is fighting to have the case heard closer to Utah here at home and to have it taken away from federal court in Washington. Turns out the injuries were serious when falling ice at Bridal Veil Falls struck a couple of hikers yesterday. One of them was seriously injured and had to be hoisted off the mountain and life-flighted to a trauma center. Search and Rescue warns you that this is melting weather, and if you're going to be out at the falls, be alert and stay clear of the ice. Top officials are downplaying the seriousness of a secret war plan that unfolded on the Signal app. Maria Chaleos is live at the KSL National News Desk.
Jeff, high-ranking members of the Trump administration were on the group chat. National Security Advisor Mike Walls, in a meeting with U.S. ambassadors, seemed to place the blame on the journalist.
This journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. And a key part of our sovereignty is open sea lanes and knocking the crap out of terrorists.
But Senator Mark Warner, the ranking member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, says it was a major oversight.
Putting aside for a moment that classified information should never be discussed over an unclassified system, it's also just mind-boggling to me that all these senior folks were on this line and nobody bothered to even check Security Hygiene 101. Who are all the names? Who are they?
House Speaker Mike Johnson acknowledging an error was made, saying the administration is fixing it. Vice President J.D. Vance will join his wife on her trip to Greenland. He says global national security is at stake. President Trump has repeatedly stressed his desire to buy Greenland. Live from the KSL National News Desk, I'm Maria Shilaos, KSL News Radio.
Some background on the war plans security breach. Former FBI Special Agent Carl Schmay told David Dujanovic this morning the use of the commercial app Signal should have never happened.
The U.S. government spends hundreds of millions of dollars to have developed secure communications to make sure that we don't get hacked by spies. And in this case, basically, we hacked ourselves.
Schmay was shocked about what was being shared by the defense secretary, the vice president, and others. Even though Signal is encrypted, cell phones are easily hacked by our enemies. The Huntsman Cancer Institute is testing a new drug therapy that they say could treat melanoma and stop it from spreading to the brain. Dr. Sherry Holman told Utah's Noon News they're partnering with a drug company to begin patient trials.
And so right now we're actually doing a phase 2 trial to test efficacy. We think that will take probably 2 to 3 years. And then if that's successful, we'll move to phase 3 just to confirm effectiveness in a larger patient population before FDA approval. And that probably takes an additional 3 to 5 years.
Holman says while the mortality rate is decreasing, hundreds of thousands of people are still diagnosed with melanoma in the U.S. every year. KSL News Time 3:06. Ricky Meese is here, stuck inside with First Look traffic.
It is a beautiful day for a drive, and we already have traffic building southbound I-15 Murray and Midvale, plus a crash for Davis County drivers northbound I-15 at the Park Lane Highway 89 ramp, and it's been blocking a right lane. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Thanks, Ricky. My Minute's up next.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle, a daily dose of Active Liver.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. You can find Active Liver at Amazon.com, or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Go to new, N-O-R